Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jenny Show, where me, Jenny, or I guess, have people on the show and we talk and discuss about different issues and topics going on in our world today. So today we have a very special guest. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Alex Thomas. So a little bit about me. I recently graduated from Illinois State with a computer science degree, and I'm currently working at Aldi in their IT department. So yeah, back to you, Jenny.
So my idea for this episode was to kind of discuss, because I'm currently a university student. You recently graduated from university. So I wanted to kind of talk about teachers and how teaching newer generations, because a lot of teachers, there's a gap between generations and how there's newer technologies and how that's kind of like affecting teaching and just the general class structure. So I kind of wanted to see first what your input on kind of that was,
Yeah, definitely have a lot of feelings towards the new generation and teachers and how they haven't really adapted well. During my time at Illinois State, actually, I had gotten to see the uprise of ChatGPT, a very new technology, and I had noticed that a lot of teachers hadn't really adapted to it and were more so afraid of it. I'm not sure if you've seen anything like that.
It's definitely a big thing, because I know I'm a newer student and you kind of, I don't know, when you started college, it was, right, COVID, you started in COVID.
Correct.
So that was kind of a different time than it is now. I mean, it's definitely more, even in high school, like last year, it was different because my teachers in high school, like I had one teacher especially, and he was so pro ChatGPT, like, oh, this thing is like the best thing ever. He had like the premium subscription version. But in college, it's like so different because they're like, all this needs to be your own work. Like on Canvas, when we submit assignments, it's like you have to agree that this is your own work and it's not anything, and everything's has to be cited correctly. So I feel like it's such a switch now with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's definitely because ChatGPT, definitely came up out of nowhere. No one knows really what's going on. No one knows much about the regulations and stuff. But I mean, yeah, definitely, if you think about it, ChatGPT can be such a great tool. It can be so beneficial to learning things quickly, comprehensively. You can have a conversation with it. And I mean, I just feel like a lot of teachers really didn't understand that. And to your point, I also had teachers at Illinois State University that absolutely love ChatGPT. They're like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. They want us to use it and such. But then I had the complete polar opposite, where I had teachers where if you use ChatGPT, if they saw you on the website in class, they would get super upset with you. And it was just devastating to me because I love ChatGPT.
That's interesting that your teachers are like, so you had teachers that saw you like on the website? And
They did not want us using it at all. They didn't want to see it at all. They didn't want us basically on it at all. They wanted us to learn everything. I had one teacher that was super strict about actually anything with the internet. She didn't want us going on the internet. She wanted us to learn everything from the textbook. So she didn't want to see the internet. She didn't want to see ChatGPT. Basically, she got upset if we had deviated from her class structure at all. But yeah, so that teacher was a strict one.
so did you have to like, what did you do to turn in your assignments? Like what did you do for that?
Well, yeah, so we could still use the internet. We just couldn't, learn from the internet. We couldn't browse the internet. So, we still had, Canvas where we submitted assignments, but just couldn't, browse and learn things.
I feel like that's just hindering our, learning capabilities, because obviously it's not like back in the old days when you wanted to do research, you had to go to the library and, check out a book. But, it's so different now, and even if you don't like the internet that it is now, it's kind of something that you just have to be accustomed to, because that is what our world is today. Like, our whole world, I feel like, just runs off of the internet and social media and all this stuff. So it's like, whether you like it or not, it's gonna be there. And it's like, we live in a world where it's also like, if you don't have a cell phone, there's no way to really communicate with people in that way. Like, nobody has home phones anymore, really, and it's kind of just hindering down. So it's kind of just something that you have to adapt to, whether you like it or not. And it's difficult, especially in a teaching environment where you're teaching students and you're trying to have them do one thing, but the whole world is going in an opposite direction. I feel like that's a kind of different and difficult strategy to be like dealing with.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, definitely completely agree with you towards the internet and everything. And I think, yeah, tying back even back into the point where teachers just need to adapt. I mean, they need to just understand that, the internet exists. ChatGPT at this point exists. It's a very good, it's a large language model, and it's basically, it's super useful if you decide to use it. So, I also saw right towards the end, like I said, ChatGPT started rising up basically my last 2 semesters when I was at Illinois State. And so, I mean, a lot of people were scared. They didn't really know the capabilities, their curriculum and, the class structures were not designed for ChatGPT. It was designed for textbooks and stuff and et cetera. But what I had noticed was towards the end of it, like my last semester, even the semester after I left, when I stayed in contact with some of my friends, the teachers were changing the class structure, changing the curriculum, changing that syllabus to actually use ChatGPT. And I mean, I think that's great that they're jumping on the bandwagon right away. What I mean by using ChatGPT is they're actually allowing and letting people use ChatGPT even on tests and stuff. Like they're just, but essentially they're making the tests much harder and saying, hey, ChatGPT is a resource. You're going to be able to use ChatGPT in the real world. Why not use it on a test? The thing is, the test, obviously you only have a couple minutes to take the test, less than an hour usually, depending on how long the class is. You're not going to be able to just throw in, a question, especially a technically hard question, into ChatGPT and get the answer right away. You're going to need to, understand it preemptively, get some preemptive knowledge. Otherwise, you're going to be doomed and it's just not going to work right.
See, that's interesting because I feel like majority of my professors now, like even, I mean, both semesters that I've been in college, because I'm still just a freshman, but nobody's really brought it up as much as I thought they would. Like, I've never had any teachers that have really prominently talked about it. Like, obviously it's been a thing where like some teachers understand that like, yeah, people are gonna cheat. Like it becomes inevitable, but like I don't think there's really been a big discussion about that. I mean, in our most of our syllabuses though, it does talk about like an agreement with like AI and stuff like that, but I never really looked too much into it. I mean, personally, for like my assignments, I don't like to use ChatGPT because I don't want to get in trouble if the teacher isn't okay with that. So I'd rather just do my own work rather than risking it with an AI model, which is still very iffy right now. Like AI is progressing a lot in our world, but I feel like it's still very new where you can't trust it as much. And I actually did see once that one of the things it says on the website is like AI, like this is just like you can't trust it, and it says like check like work that is like, I don't know what I'm saying, but like I don't know how to explain it, but it says like check work that needs to be checked. Like don't trust it so much because it is just artificial intelligence. It's not like this perfect model of a human that we can just ask anything, I mean, I don't know, it gets risky with it.
No, I mean that makes total complete sense. I mean, the point of ChatGPT is to be able to conversate and essentially, ask it questions and be able to quickly get information. It's not going to be 100% accurate. Its sources aren't 100% accurate. So you've got to take it, you got to use ChatGPT with a grain of salt, But if you go into it, understand, hey, it's not going to be perfect. It's not always going to spit out the right answers. Still, like I said, it's so beneficial because you can just get that quick feedback, something you could never have gotten out of Google. For example, going back and forth a conversation about, US presidents and stuff, asking questions, asking complex questions that, you can't ask Google a complex question and, expect to receive a very specific answer. You can ask it simple questions, who was the first president of the United States? But then if you try to go deep into, back and forth about the first president of the United States, you can't do that with Google. But so, yeah, so like I said, I think it's very beneficial. And I mean, you had mentioned, and sorry to steal the spotlight here a bit from you, but you had mentioned that you hadn't seen teachers, talk much about using ChatGPT and stuff. The reason I had seen it so much is because I was in computer science. People in my class, people I'd heard from, notorious for just throwing in a programming assignment into ChatGPT and submitting it. It was, there were so many different complaints, so many different students getting accused of academic dishonesty because they were using ChatGPT. Now they were using ChatGPT, but the thing is, ChatGPT was so new at the time that the teacher could never prove it. How do you get accused of academic dishonesty, and how do they find out? Where do you come up with the evidence? Well, usually they search it up online and they find it somewhere, the code, stored online on some Stack Overflow website or something. ChatGPT, that's all information processed and sent to you from artificial intelligence. That's not stored anywhere. So even though the code did not align with the teacher's, way of teaching and stuff, it was still, obviously not their code and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just rambling on a bit here, but essentially now that ChatGPT's been integrated, there's a lot less academic probation, academic dishonesty. Like I said, all around, it's just such a great tool, and I'm really glad to see that some teachers are starting to use it now.
That's interesting to think about, though, like the idea that it's just like, it's coming from nothing. Like, you look something up on Google, and it's like, if you're looking for answers on Google, they'll be right there if you need them. But to think that, like, artificial intelligence is just literally its own intelligence and just coming up with these ideas literally within seconds. Like, sometimes it'll take its time to think, but literally in a matter of seconds, it could produce an entire screenplay, an entire article, or anything that you would need in a matter of seconds, just right there. And I think that's just so insane that it could do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know a lot of people typically tend to only know about ChatGPT, but the reality of it is there are so many other models, there are so many other websites, companies, and stuff. As a matter of fact, Claude 3.7 is a newer model, newer than ChatGPT's right now, and it is so personalized that you can just keep going back and forth, and basically it asks you questions, about your life, and then you just keep spitting it questions back, and it remembers everything that you say. It's literally like you're talking to like one of your family members at that point, just somebody very knowledgeable. You can ask it anything. It retains everything about you. Maybe a little bit scary to think about, your information's, stored somewhere. But like I said, it's just so powerful because you can just keep conversating. You can ask it anything, and then it'll still remember your name. It'll still remember, what you're doing. It can help tie into the conversation, just make it so much cooler.
See, that's where the line between like cool and creepy kind of gets iffy, because as interesting as it is, I cannot, like, the thought of just like being able to create this artificial, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, I feel like with ChatGPT, from what I've known, because sometimes like I've goofed around with it a little bit and like tried to mess around, and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna, like, for example, all these new, so have you seen these new AI, like artificial intelligent models on like different social media apps?
Yeah, I've seen a bit on Twitter and Snapchat and stuff.
Yeah, so like for example, like Snapchat AI was like a big thing. So if you don't know what that is, basically Snapchat created artificial intelligence, basically a new like profile that you could interact with. You could send snaps to it, you could chat it, and it would just be like ChatGPT, but it would be more human-like because it would feel like you're actually talking to someone, where it was just artificial intelligence. And I remember when that first came out, I would talk to it, and because I wanted to see what it was like. I hadn't really known much about artificial intelligence, and it was weird because you could tell it something, like I'd give it a name. I'd be like, okay, your name is this. And then a couple chats later, I'd be like, what is your name? And it wouldn't know. And I'm like, okay, that's not that bad, because it's kind of still like, it just still seems a little bit funky and like not great, and something that I shouldn't be scared of yet. But something that did actually scare me, I sent it like a snap of something. I don't know what it was, but I sent it a snap, and it like recognized what was in the picture and like gave a response to that picture, and I was like, oh, I don't like this anymore. Like, this is just not, yeah.
Yeah, that's image recognition for you. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, I know we've kind of gotten a little bit, maybe a little bit off topic here, but just kind of tying back into like the new generation and stuff, and just kind of wanting to give a conclusion here. But yeah, so I was kind of just, we got a little bit off topic, but kind of bringing it back to our topic here of how can teachers adapt to the new generation. I think just kind of look at some trends, when you see new technology like something like ChatGPT, or when you see new social media or something, don't be afraid, to dabble in it a bit, maybe check it out. Like we said, we saw teachers that use ChatGPT and they love it. They entice their students to use it, and it's just all around great. And then you have teachers who stay away from it completely, want nothing to do with it, and it just hinders our learning experience, increases academic dishonesty and probation, when it's really not. It can be prevented if the teachers just do a little bit of research. So I think, it's hard to stay on top of everything, but just do your best to try to stay on top of, technology advancements and, anything that's going on in the modern world.
Yeah, so this really this wraps up our episode for this week. If you enjoyed the Jenny Show, make sure to check out my next episode. I post every Friday at 12 p.m. at the Jenny Show on Spotify, Instagram, and Apple Music. Hope you enjoyed this episode about technology, lots of ChatGPT and like teachers and stuff. And then thank you, Alex, for joining us today.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure.
You. So yeah, thank you guys for listening in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, take care.